There we
Okay,
go.
all right. We had to do it old school, which means actually pushing a button. Hey everyone, welcome to the Married Life of Rich and Kevin. I'm Kevin,
And I'm Rich.
and yeah, probably the big thing that you're noticing is that we switched up the paintings in the background, and I know they're
That's the
wondering
big
where.
thing.
I know they're wondering where we were all this time. All kinds of stuff going on. We'll get into that another time. Nothing bad or anything. Everybody's doing fine, but we did have a lot of things come up that pretty much took up all of our time and attention. But we swapped out we've gotten a lot of comments on wondering about the artwork that is on the wall behind us. Before were two landscapes by an artist from Tipton named Randall Scott Harden. And we switched some paintings around in the house, and what we have behind us now are some florals from a Bloomington artist named Quang Cha. And she's also another favorite of ours. And then the little bright square there between the two of us is, that's one that I did that was part of a fundraiser for the Ukraine. And not my typical work, but it was done in acrylics, whereas I normally work in watercolor. So it's bright and cheery and colorful, so we put it out. But anyway, this is our fourth episode in household finances. And this one's going to be a little bit different because we're going to be getting heavy into making recommendations to you, the viewer. And this segment is going to basically be about paychecks and tax returns. And the point that we want to make with paychecks is there's a lot of people who don't bother looking at their pay stub. My personal experience, primarily when I was with a much smaller local CPA firm, I would have people who would get surprised when we would go through the tax returns that they were under withheld and that they owed a lot. And you know, I would say, well, did you ever look at your pay stubs? And a lot of them would say, oh, I don't get a pay stub, it's automatically deposited. And I would say, no, it doesn't matter, you do get a pay stub. Mm-hmm. You need to contact your payroll department because probably it's available online on ADP. And when you started, they sent you the login information and told you how to set it up for viewing, but for whatever reason, you never did it. And if you would have done that, you could have seen that you were being under withheld, or at the very least, you could have come to one of us and said, hey, Kevin, I just got my first pay stub. Does it look like they're withholding the proper amount of money? A lot of people don't do that, particularly the salaried people. Hourly people, anyone who works hourly, I imagine that you scrutinize every single paycheck that you get to make sure that you're getting paid for the proper number of hours. But the reason that this is important is because people do make mistakes, and a lot of times, depending on where your payroll is processed, a lot of states like Indiana, we have a county tax that gets assessed on top of the state tax. And there have been a couple of times where Rich and I have started a new job, and we've done all the paperwork for payroll, but because the actual processing did not take place in the state of Indiana, we would look at our early pay stubs and there were no county taxes being withheld. Mm-hmm. And so we would have, and it is up to us to reach out to the payroll and say, hey, you know, we're in this county, the tax rate for that county in this state is 1% or 3.2% or something, and could you please, you know, get our payroll information updated so that county taxes start getting taken out. Another thing that can happen is, for whatever reason, the federal withholdings can get screwed up. And that's not through any fault of our own or your own. The most recent example happened with Rich. Yep. His warehouse was purchased by another, and all the payroll records were transferred to a new provider. And he's on salary, so we're used to him getting paid the same amount every single pay cycle, and he got a pay stub. I think it was January. Was it
Something
January? Yeah, early this year, and
I just thought I got a raise, but I didn't. I mean, I know I didn't. So I mean, the thing is, just pulled up my previous pay stub from the previous month, pulled up the one I just got, and saw that they weren't taking out enough federal.
yeah, they were about what, $100, $200 under.
Yeah, and so then well, he could tell you more, but I had to go in and add that amount into
Your
payroll system to have, about $100 taken out extra on top of what they are taking out right now.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to have to owe at the very end.
Yeah, and that's something that's easy to do is because so many of it's online. If for whatever reason we would discover that our federal, there wasn't enough federal being taken out, we can just log in and there's a section that says, do you want extra federal taken out? If so, what amount? And then you can just type it in and you can shore up your withholding so that you decrease your chances of owing at the end of the year. But it's amazing, in my experience, how many people wanted to blame the payroll department for screwing up their payroll, and it's like, okay, the payroll did not screw you up. They're doing their information, and if it's migrating over from another system, yeah, maybe it could have been caught, but ultimately the responsibility for a correct pay stub rests with us, and that is why it is important for everyone to look at our pay stubs every single pay cycle and make sure that it looks reasonable, and also make sure that you understand what every single number on there represents, because you start off, you got your gross pay, and then you've got your deductions, if you have deductions, like insurance and retirement. If you have any wage garnishments, like for child support, you're going to have that on there. You want to make sure that's on there. And then comes the taxes. You're going to have your, and I'm speaking here about in America and in Indiana specifically, but you're going to have your federal withholding. You have money taken out for Social Security. You have money taken out for Medicaid. And depending on the state, you'll have state and county taken out. And then any other kind of elections that you're having, and you want to make sure that each of those is being calculated correctly. And if you don't understand, like for example, how they arrive at your withholding for Social Security, talk with your payroll person, because it's going to be the same formula every single pay, so it should be the same amount every single pay if you're on a salary and there's no additional monies in there. Now, as far as how to tell if you're having enough federal taken out, a good rule of thumb to start off with is, and again, this is strictly for salaried, is to make sure that they're taking at least 10% out of your gross for federal. So if your paycheck, if your gross pay is $3,000, you want to look and see if they're taking at least $300 out for federal. And then, because if it's really any less than that, then you can get into kind of an iffy area. This isn't a solid rule for every single situation, but the point I'm trying to make is if you're looking at your pay stub and your gross pay is $3,000 and they've only taken $50 out for your federal, you need to get with your payroll and say what's going on here. This is not enough. And they may say that okay, well, here's your W-4, here's the information that you gave us, and or oops, sorry, something got miskeyed, thanks for catching that. I had one client at my old firm, a young lady, who she was all excited. She started her first real job, and full-blown salary with benefits and all of this. And before, basically, long story short, she filled out her W-4 so that she would have no federal withholding taken out because she always previously got all of her federal withholding back. Well, she didn't tell anyone, she didn't look at her pay stub, she didn't ask the question, and then when it came time to file her taxes, she owed about between $5,000-$6,000 just on federal, and she was freaking out. She got her dad involved, and he was, trying to say, this is illegal, they can't do this, and it's, well, they're going, it's up to her to look at her blasted pay stub and make sure that it looks reasonable.
Right.
And then and this young lady was in her mid-20s at the time, and her dad was a helicopter parent, and was saying, well, she's not going to know to look. Well, can't do anything about that.
Right.
I mean, she's going to have to take the initiative here. I guarantee you now she looks at every pay stub. But it's nobody's job to make sure that your daughter is looking at her pay stub. So come on, guy. But there's a lot of this. It's very, very widespread. And it's also amazing how many people have no clue what all of these taxes that are being withheld are for.
Yeah, because I have a nephew that started his first job, and he brought home his paycheck. My mom was looking it over, and he said, "What's all this stuff taken out?" And she said, "Well, that's Social Security, that's Medicare, that's federal." And he said, "I don't want any of that stuff taken out. I just want that money back." And she said, "Well, honey, yeah, that's just not how it works."
Yeah, and he got all bent out of shape, and it's ask, make sure that, you don't have to be some kind of payroll guru, but it falls upon you to have at least a solid understanding of what's being taken out, why, what's it for, and to make sure that it seems reasonable so you don't have any nasty surprises when it comes time to file your tax returns. A very widespread example of this, and it hit several people that we know, is back under the previous administration, there was a big tax overhaul. And one of the things that was changed was all of the tax rates for all the tiers for individuals were lowered a bit, and how withholding was calculated to run in tandem with that was changed as well. And so it became up to employers to make sure that they made these withholding changes, these payroll withholding changes, properly in their system. And roughly half the firms in this country got it wrong. And so you had a lot of people who suddenly became very under-withheld and were shocked to find out that they owed several $1,000s when it came time to file their taxes. And so what I would ask is, okay, didn't your payroll or your HR send you an email saying that there's going to be some changes, please make sure that everything is proper on your pay stubs? And I had a couple of people say, well, yeah, I remember getting something, but I didn't read it.
Right.
Okay, well, they're letting you know. You need to read it and make sure that you understand it. And once the changes go into effect, make sure that it's all thus and so. But I had a lot of people who were just livid and just grousing and, oh, the government raised my taxes. And no, the government did not raise your taxes. Well, I've never owed before, and now you're saying I owe $3,000. That's not because your taxes were raised, it was because your withholding was lowered. Your overall taxes are lower, but they did not do the changes to your withholding correctly, and you were under withheld. Didn't you see a bunch of extra money in your pay stubs? Well, yeah, but I just thought that was because of the tax cut. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, well, it's not. They made a mistake. Yeah, so it's, again, it's very important to understand the how and the why of how your pay works. And that segues into tax returns. And it's also very important to have at least a good understanding of how and why the numbers on your tax return fall out the way that they do. And we're not saying go out and become a CPA or a tax expert. Just get in, it's your money. It's important to have some level of understanding on why your taxes work the way that they work. And the best way to do that is you can either do TurboTax, which is what we do, and we're not making a product recommendation or anything like that, but when you print off like a tax return from a lot of the tax software, be it TurboTax or a different type, you can opt to have all the calculations printed off with it. And if you go through your tax return by yourself, you can follow the math of how the various numbers are calculated. These statements won't tell you why it is what it is, but they'll show you how they got to the numbers. For a lot of people, the best way to get that understanding is to have your taxes done, depending on if you qualify. AARP will set up shop in a lot of local libraries. They can do your tax returns for free and e-file them for free. And usually this is for lower income people with no rental properties. And or you can go to like a H&R Block or a Jackson Hewitt, and when they get done with your taxes, part of what they will do is walk you through and explain, why this happened and why this happened and why you got this credit and why you did not get this. And another way is to sign up for a class in Introduction to Individual Income Tax at a technical school or at your community college or something like that. And it just runs through, the top level of how all of this works. And a lot of people really aren't that interested. They really just want to know, do I owe or am I getting a refund? Okay, you're getting a refund, cool, that's all I care about. And that's fine. But what I see a lot of in my field is people getting bent out of shape about taxes who they're repeating the media. There's some latest story, like right now there's some tax provisions in the new spending bill that is heading towards the president's desk. There's part of it in there that's a carried interest issue, which, we were talking about that.
Well, let's just say this, read up on it first.
Yeah.
Because it's not all what you think it is.
Yeah.
So, but I would just say before we get down into the weeds on it,
Yeah.
read up on it first.
Because what happens is a lot of people will get bent out of shape over taxes and parrot this whole tax cut for the rich stuff and all of this, and you ask them for specifics and they're not able to tell you anything. So another reason for having a good grasp of your taxes is to reduce the chances of being manipulated by media and political personalities when it comes to income taxes. And I'm not making any kind of political statement. This is what happens. And also, where taxes are concerned, understand that the taxes that we pay at the federal, state, and county level, there's always going to be something that we don't want our taxes going towards. And, some people don't want their taxes going towards the arts. Some don't want it going towards abortion. Some don't want it going towards the military. Get over it. There's always going to be something that you're not going to like your taxes going towards. Get over it. There's no way around it. Because when you pay your taxes, it's not your money anymore. It goes into the general fund. And it can be used however it is, however they want it to be used. If there are issues that bug you that much, then you're going to have to do more than piss, moan, and complain about it. Either run for office or insist on a referendum or pester your regional politician or something. But it's important to just make your peace with that there's going to be some things that your tax money's going to go towards that you're just not going to like. And, that's life. Anything?
I think that's about it. I know
Yeah.
we're at 20-minute mark.
Yeah.
So
It's, realize that this really isn't an entertaining segment.
the singing and dancing will start on the
Yeah,
next video.
singing and dancing will be on the next one, but we're just wanting to get out there for those who may not have really thought about it, or it's important that you understand. It's this overall thing of understanding how and why your money works the way that it does. And these are two areas to start. So again, if it's something that's of interest to you and you really don't quite understand what all the numbers on your pay stub are about, schedule an appointment with your payroll or your HR and just let them know ahead of time that, hey, could you kind of walk me through? And they can help you with a better understanding. Same thing with your taxes. If you're not quite sure why the taxes, your taxes fell out the way that they did, talk to a friend. If you have a friend who's a CPA or a tax preparer, see if they could just walk you through and kind of give you a top level explanation, or take a class.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it doesn't mean you need to start doing your own or anything like that, but just to kind of give you some of those aha moments and help kind of explain how and why things are the way that they are. And, again, just to help be in the know and to just kind of give you a level of peace and comfort that you've got a good idea of how and why things are working the way that they are, and also that, just to help reduce the chances of being manipulated by media and political personalities in these areas. So I think that's it.
Yep.
We have at least one more in this series that is going to be on giving. That's going to be a fun one. And so I guess, again, we've been enjoying your comments, so please subscribe if you haven't. Please feel free to leave some comments. We do like hearing about your own experiences.
Yep.
And all of this. So I guess until next time, everybody take care, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Have a nice day.
Bye.